What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some insane battles in the Open Great League with a triple flying and fighting theme team with Hawlucha, Galarian Zapdos, and the newly released Flamigo. Now Flamigo is a pretty attack weighted Pokemon, it's got very similar stats to Toucannon, and honestly it's got a pretty good moveset with Double Kick as a fast move, which I think is a really underrated move. I think the main issue really is that Paldean Tauros is really the only other usable fighting type Pokemon with this fast move, so you just don't really see it used all that much, but it's also got Upper Hand and Brave Bird, two very strong charge moves. And I have to say, even on a meme team like this one, this was still a really fun team to use, and I still went slightly positive on the day, despite the numerous core breakers to this team. Now, before we get into the question of the day, I want to mention that the channel is just 11 subscribers away from hitting 35,000, and I know it's not a nice round number like 50k or 100k, but let's be realistic, this channel isn't ever going to reach those sorts of numbers, but 35k is still a huge milestone for me, and it would be the first big milestone I've hit in, honestly, years. So if you're not yet subscribed and you enjoy watching spicy GBL content like this is probably the only channel still around where you can expect to see exclusively spicy teams. Then make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, that way you won't miss out on any of my uploads. Anyways, with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What has been the most fun Pokemon you've used in the Go Battle League that has released over the past few seasons? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, leading Hawlucha into Altaria. I have to say, Altaria, one of the most problematic Pokemon that I faced with this team. I did get quite fortunate that I didn't see any Wigglytuff with this team, or really any Florges or Clefable, so that was quite nice. I did still see a few other fairy types, but either way, Altaria still very problematic for me. You can see I'm going for Flying Press in this matchup. I'm actually just not certain that I reach an Aerial Ace, and even though Aerial Ace is going to hit for neutral damage, whilst Flying Press is going to hit for resisted damage, the actual damage difference, despite Aerial Ace also costing much more energy, is only like 5 or 6 more damage there. So either way, we come in with Flamigo, we get a full double kick farm down, and as you'd expect, paired with basically every Altaria, there's going to be an Empoleon in the back. Now, of course, we don't know what the third Pokemon is. The fact that coming in with Empoleon, I'm thinking maybe it's going to be a Mud Slapper in the back. Either way, I'm going to shield the Hydro Cannon here, and now I'm actually going to be able to outpace them to 2 more upper hands, firing off the first one, grabbing the final shield, and then reaching another upper hand. And of course, all shields are now down. Upper hand gets the KO, and actually, it's not going to be a Mud Slapper. Instead, it's going to be a Furret. Either way, still pretty comfortable for me. However, you're going to see Furret very spammy. 2 Swifts will easily get the KO up against the Zapdos. Zapdos basically just being fully sacrificed. These Pokemon don't do particularly well when all shields are down. However, Flamigo did still have enough residual energy to reach another upper hand, taking out the Furret, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Hawlucha into Alola Ninetales. So, not a great matchup for me. However, we do have access to Poison Jab. It's not the worst case scenario. I'm going to shield this first charge move. I'm then going to go over by 4 fast moves here and then look to throw on CMP. The opponent does throw immediately once again. So, Flying Press, gonna win CMP, and it's going to grab a shield. At this point, I'm happy with that shield there. I'm going to let Hawlucha go down. If I shield, yes, I will reach another charge move, but they can actually Powder Snow farm me all the way down. So, instead, I'm going to come in, use my final shield here. Unfortunately, it looks like we did get 1 turn bring in lag, but we still get the full counter farm down, and they're going to come in with a Gastrodon. So that is absolutely fine with me. I'm full sending Close Combat. Close Combat does huge damage. I'm going to swap out, assuming they will just go straight for a Body Slam, able to catch onto Flamigo, and they do exactly that. Now they come in with Ludicolo, and I'm full sending Brave Bird. I either need to guarantee the KO, or just debuff myself so that whatever they throw, even if they undercharge it, likely gets the KO anyways. And Weather Ball does take us out, but we've got residual energy. We go for 2 counters. We go straight for Fly. Fly, super effective. It gets the KO, and I put them into range where just a single counter gets the farm down up against the Gastrodon, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle, a much better lead matchup for me. Actually, the entire team is going to completely wall the Scrafty, unless they're running Thunder Punch, which honestly I wouldn't be surprised if they were, but they do just go for a resisted Foul Play. So at this point, I'm going to farm up to back-to-back Flying Presses. You could argue that maybe I should swap out of this matchup just because we have a super effective Fast Move Pressure against the Scrafty, but if they double shield, I'm going to do exactly that, and I come in with the Flamigo. So the opponent just goes straight for a Power Up Punch there, obviously not expecting me to swap out and make a catch there. there, and then they come in with a Registeel. So I'm not sure what season this trainer thinks it is, but Scrafty and Registeel, that is a massive throwback. Either way, I'm going to shield this. The opponent going to full send the Zap Cannon, but they do not get a debuff, meaning I can go for a full double kick farm down. They come back in with the Scrafty, so I'm going to farm up to 100 energy here. Upper hand will easily get the KO, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Venusaur, and unfortunately for them, we've already got the Brave Bird. Brave Bird gets the one-shot. Flamigo completely sweeping an entire team, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG to opponent there, into the next battle. We see Empoleon in the lead. A bit of an awkward matchup actually for my lead, just because Poison Jab is double resisted. So, I'm going to swap into Flamigo. The opponent throws straight away, giving a full double kick in for free. They then swap into a shiny Amoonguss. Now, I'm expecting a shield as I am a flying type Pokemon. So, I bait, and the opponent unfortunately calls the bait there. But we've already got the Brave Bird loaded. The opponent still doesn't respect it. It gets the KO. But they had what I was expecting anyways. They've got Altaria in the back, and now we're already down a shield. I don't think we've got any chance of winning this game. I'm going to use my final shield already. I'm now going to look to overfarm just a little bit here. Fire off a flying press. Hopefully the opponent then also overfarms. But no, they are going to throw straight away. Now maybe, just maybe, I've put them, I've put them into range where we can go for a full counter farm down, but I will also need to make a catch onto Flamigo. So we're going to swap out here. We're able to make the catch onto Flamigo, and the opponent is going to go straight for that Sky Attack. At this point, can we get the full counter farm down? Yes, we're able to do so. But Empoleon, can we also farm them down? No, unfortunately not. I throw here just because actually using a shield is still going to deal 1 more damage, but they won at 1 HP there, meaning they can survive. They can throw the charge. Drill Peck gets the KO, and unfortunately we do lose that game. However, I do feel if I didn't bait up against the Amoonguss there, maybe we could have won that game. But GG's to that trainer. Into the next battle. Going to see a Primeape in the lead. So at this point, I'm happy to no shield, even if they do go for an Ice Punch. Ice Punch is not going to get the one shot. It does get me very low, however, so I will just go straight for a Flying Press. Presumably, they end up shielding this, and so I'm going to swap into Flamigo. Now, we've already seen the Ice Punch, so I'm going to shield. They likely bait at this point, and the opponent is going to go ahead and fire off a Rage Fist. However, don't really mind. At this point, we can actually just double shield if we need to, and fully double kick farm them down, especially now that we've dropped the defense with the upper hand. I'm going to shield. They do full send the Ice Punch this time around. Either way, that's fine with me. They swap into Toxapex, and I don't throw at the best timing here, meaning, unfortunately, even though I've got a lot of energy, I will not quite reach back-to-back charge moves. So Brave Bird still did big damage, but again, we're probably going to have to try and make a catch here, because Zapdos, not the fastest to reach our charge moves. So I'm going to swap out, catch a Brine. Brine will get the KO up against the Horlucha from this range, and then hopefully I can fully resisted counter farm them down. It's going to be so close, but we actually get the perfect farm down, and their final Pokemon is going to be Corviknight. They tried to make the catch there. It does not work out for them, and now we've got back-to-back close combats. First one, huge damage. Second one will easily be enough damage to take out the Corviknight, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we're going to see Horlucha into a Shadow Talonflame. Excuse me there. We are going to go straight for Flying Press. Flying Press, once again, this is resisted damage. However, it's going to do marginally less damage than a Aerial Ace. So at this point, I'm actually happy to no shield. Going to come in with my Zapdos. The fact that they no shielded as well probably implies that they've actually got a pretty good answer to Horlucha, which means they've probably got a pretty good answer to my entire team, which isn't really ideal for me, but we're going to go for a Fly, and Fly actually connects. Now, honestly, I probably should have stayed in just because counters are going to do a lot more damage than the double kicks, but they've got a third Pokemon that does pretty well into this team in the form of Unova Stunfisk, and I really need to start getting some debuffs with these upper hands. So the first one, gotta be shielded, no debuff there unfortunately. We go for upper hand, number 2. Upper hand, gotta be no shielded this time, and again, still no debuff. At this point, I don't think we've really got any chance at all, but I'm gonna swap out that, expecting the opponent to swap back into Dusclops. Oh, sorry, Dusknoir. If we're able to double kick farm down, maybe we've got a chance, but no. They're able to reach another Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch, of course, easily going to take out Flamigo from that range, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on their into the next battle. We're going to see Quagsire in the lead. So this is fine. We're, of course, going to double resist the fast move pressure. They're also resisting the poison jab damage, so it's not the best matchup for me. But they actually just go straight for an Aqua Tail. Now, of course, up against most flying type Pokemon, you would go for Stone Edge. However, it's only neutral into the fighting and flying typing there. So that is why they go just for the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail, of course, going to hit for stab damage. Now, the opponent comes in with a Galarian Corsola. Now, of course, that upper hand is double resisted. I was fishing for a debuff here, because if we debuffed them, we actually could have got the one shot with the Brave Bird. But unfortunately, now we're going to have to come in, use a shield here. I'm hoping I have still put them into range where we can poison jab farm them down, and we do get that full farm down. We've now got back-to-back flying presses, so I fire off the first one, grab the first shield, and I go for a second flying press. Flying press number 2, gonna grab the final shield. I could have swapped out here, but actually, because they've got quite a lot of energy, I'm happy to just let the Horlucha go down, and hopefully Zapdos is gonna be able to sweep in the end game. I'm gonna no-shield the first charge sweep here. I will then look to use a shield, and then try and commit to a full counter farm down. Clearly, whatever they've got in the bag doesn't necessarily want to see our Zapdos, so I'm now gonna shield, commit to the farm down, and that was the right play, as they've got a Credilli in the back. But close combat easily gets the one shot there. We can just counter, farm down the Quagsire, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Sableye in the lead. Bit of a tricky matchup for me, as of course, well, all the fast move pressure is going to be resisted. They also resist all of the fighting type charge moves as well. Once again, I'm still just going to go for a flying press, and flying press is actually going to be shielded here. So this one, I'm going to no-shield this. If they're on Dazzling Gleam, then so be it. But they do just go for a foul play bait there, meaning they can reach another foul play. But again, this is going to be resisted, so I don't really want to shield that. They then come in with a Bastiodon now. A bit awkward for me, just because we are going to take neutral damage from the smackdowns. I can't quite farm up to back-to-back close combats before throwing, so we get off the first one. The opponent does let the Bastiodon go down. However, we do not reach a second. Now, that isn't really ideal for me, because we're still going to struggle to take out the Sableye. So I'm actually going to use a shield here, just because now I can go for another flying press. Flying press might end up grabbing the final shield at this point, in which case I'm now going to swap into Flamigo. I'm hoping that they've got like a double backline that is going to be weak to the fighting typing, so I'm going to shield here. I realize that is just going to be a foul play, but I want to keep my Flamigo as healthy as possible, assuming they are weak to it in the back. But unfortunately, that assumption was not right. They're actually going to have a Jellicent in the back. I'm full sending Brave Bird. Brave Bird does huge damage, but it's not enough damage to get the KO. And of course, they can full send a Shadow Ball. We can come in with Horlucha, but they will just Hex farm me all the way down. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Talonflame in the lead once again. So once again, I'm going to go straight for a Flying Press here. And again, I mentioned this already several times, but Flying Press is going to be slightly spammier. So of course, it's actually slightly more energy efficient, even when it's resisted. It does do marginally less damage than an Aerial Ace these days. But either way, it will allow us to reach another charge move here without throwing on alignment there and possibly giving them a full Incinerate in for free. However, you can see, if I did throw an alignment, I would have just got the KO, so a little bit unfortunate there, but either way, we can come in with Flamigo, get the farm down, and they actually come in with a Credilli, and they're on Bullet Seed as well, so I'm resisting the fast move damage, and remember, we're only going to take neutral damage, from the rock typing, so I'm happy to no-shield this, because if this is our best answer to a Flamigo, then my Zapdos is probably going to do quite well in the end game as well. Either way, we can go for upper hand, throwing on CMP, and they actually have a Jellicent in the back once again. So again, I'm not really sure why they're playing this out the way they have done. But either way, we're going to bank a Brave Bird. I swap out there just because I was debuffed. We're going to come in. We actually catch a Surf, which I wasn't really trying to do. But that is quite helpful for me, because now we can shield up the next Surf, go for a Fly. And this is just going to guarantee that a Brave Bird will get the KO. The opponent is able to fully farm me down, but as long as my buttons come up there, we can full send a Brave Bird. Brave Bird, gonna be massive overkill from this range, but I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in there into the next battle. We'll see Walrein in the lead, so a bit awkward for me. I would honestly prefer to see it up against either of my other Pokemon, just because we do actually have fighting fast move pressure, but either way, we're going to stay in and quite likely a Alolan Ninetales matchup. I'm just going to look to farm and throw on CMP with the second charge move, as they do outpace to the first move there. We're able to force a CMP tie, and at this point, I'm just going to take that shield. We're going to go down to an Icicle Spear, but I'm hoping if the opponent goes and throws immediately, I can come in with Flamigo, shield once, and fully double kick farm them all the way down. The opponent does throw straight away, so it does look likely that I can get the full farm down, and I'm able to do exactly that. We come out with so much energy, but they've got a Confusion Claydol. What the heck? If it was Mudsap, honestly, we've got quite a lot of play into this Pokemon. But unfortunately, since they're on Confusion, dealing huge damage there, taking out Flamigo, Rock Tomb debuffs my attack stat. They get the full Confusion farm down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up in there, into the next battle, we're going to see another Ninetales in the lead, this time a Shadow version, and again, they are going to throw straight away. So once again, I'm going to shield this, I'm then going to overfarm by 4 Poison Jabs, and look to throw on CMP. Again, the opponent is going to throw immediately, so we win CMP here, and this time, because they're a Shadow, I can probably counter farm them down in just 5 counters, meaning I actually don't need to use a shield to get the full farm down in this matchup, and we're able to do exactly that. So we come out with decent energy. They come in with a Shadow Darmanitan. That is crazy spicy. At this point, I'm going to go for Fly. I was considering Close Combat, but obviously this is Darmanitan. We do not need to full send a Close Combat there. We are now going to shield the Rock Side. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to fully farm them down here, so I am forced to throw an Upper Hand. Upper Hand obviously easily gets the KO from like 3 HP, but their final Pokemon is superior, and because we overfarmed, we're able to reach a Brave Bird. Brave Bird, super effective. It takes out the superior, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's over there, into the next battle, we're going to see a Toucannon in the lead. That is a very tricky matchup for me, but what I'm going to do is actually swap out here. I'm able to get a double kick in there as I swap out, well, 1 turn early there, so I only got 4 Poison Jabs, but that's going to mean I just barely outpace them to the next Charge Move, and really, I'm fishing for a debuff with Upper Hand. Unfortunately, we do not get the debuff there. However, Toucannon is pretty classy. You can see we've actually got them pretty low ourselves, so at this point, I think I'm going to come in with the Horlucha, as we can outpace to the next move. The opponent then swaps out into Licky Licky. They try to catch a Charge Move, meaning I can now overfarm. A Flying Press gets the full-on one-shot up against the Licky Licky. We can now go for another Flying Press, and I could swap into my Zapdos. However, I'm actually just going to stay in. I was hoping to force them to throw. Instead, they commit to the farm down, but they don't throw immediately, and as a result, the opponent's got a Gastrodon in the back, and that's a pretty comfortable matchup for me, especially now up a shield, and so I'm able to take that game. But GG's up in there, into the next battle, another really tricky matchup for me in the lead. I should just barely live an Air Cutter, so of course the first one isn't going to be boosted just yet. They do end up getting the boost, but we barely hang on, so I can go for Flying Press, and now I'm going to swap into my Zapdos. Of course, counters, whilst they are resisted, still going to add up over time, so I'm going to shield this. They go for Air Cutter, they don't get the boost this time around, and here, I don't think there's really any point in throwing my energy. Instead, I'm going to commit both shields. They get another boost, but we do get the full counter farm down, and actually, they're going to have a Furret in the back. That is huge for me. We can full send Close Combat. Close Combat gets the one-shot, but they've actually got a Sableye in the back. Now, this is going to be slightly tricky for me, just because, well, they end up no-shielding the fly. If we, oh, what the hell? If we were able to catch us, what the hell am I even trying to say? If we were able to grab the final shield from the opponent, there we go, that's what I was trying to get at. If we were able to get, what the... Alright, I'm just going to give up. Anyways, we go down there. I think maybe you can guess at what I was trying to say. Either way, doesn't really matter. It's game over. We've got 2 Pokemon on like 1 HP. They're able to Shadow Claw, farm down the remainder of my team. And unfortunately, we do lose that game. Alright, so GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we're going to see Bastardon in the lead. Honestly, I don't know why I'm staying in. Of course, yes, we've got double super effective Flying Press damage. However, I've got 2 Pokemon with double super effective Fast Move Pressure, where we could have actually put them into range where a single Charge Move would have got the KO. Whereas now, unfortunately, because I swap into Flamigo, I'm forced to tank a full-on Stone Edge there, which, yes, it is neutral damage, but still, it does quite a lot of damage. At this point, I'm going to full send a Brave Bird. We did have an Upper Hand and a Brave Bird. I wasn't sure if I would live a bubble there, so I thought, you know what, we might as well just full send. The opponent actually ends up shielding there, which is unfortunate for me, but now we're going to shield with our Horlucha. They full send the play rough, but their final Pokemon is Altaria. And unfortunately, I just can't see a way we can win this game here. We're going to go for Flying Press once again, and we're going to swap into Zapdos. I'm hoping that we can outpace them to a fly here. It's going to be super close, though. They fire off the Sky Attack, and the opponent is just barely by a single turn able to outpace. Sky Attack gets the KO. There's nothing we can do anymore, and so I just concede the match. So, GG's upon there, into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Malamar in the lead. So, this is actually a bit awkward. However, I am going to resist the charge move, so I'm going to no-shield this. They go for foul play. I'm now going straight for Flying Press, and then I will swap out into Flamigo. Except the opponent actually no-shields that, and it gets the KO. Now, they're going to have a Shadow Talonflame. This is still going to be very tricky for me, but I'm going straight for upper hand. Of course, this is resisted damage, but it grabs a shield, and we also end up dropping their defense. That is huge for me, because now it means we can just settle for another upper hand. Upper hand probably going to grab both shields, which is still quite tricky for me as they do get a full farm down. But we come in with the Galarian Zapdos, and the opponent is going to throw. Now, I believe they are over by a single Incinerate, so they fire off the Flame Charge, but the opponent, realizing we'd get to the Charge Move there, ends up swapping out, which means I can now swap out, make a catch of the Rock Tomb onto Hawlucha. And actually, you can see these counters chunking so much, we get a full counter farm down. We come out with back-to-back Charge Moves. We, of course, only need one. Fly, gonna get the KO up against the Shadow Talonflame, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle, we're going to see another Alolan Ninetales in the lead. So once again, going to play this out exactly the same as all the previous times. Going to shield the first charge move, going to overfarm by 4, and then look to throw on CMP with the second Weather Ball. And again, it looks like the opponent is going to be throwing immediately, so that's fine with me. Flying Press is going to be shielded. And again, we're just going to let Hawlucha go down. Now, this is the non-shadow, so of course they will reach another charge move up against my Zapdos. This time I'm thinking, actually, you know what? Maybe we can come in with Flamigo and play it out similarly to how we played it out. What the hell? Played it out up against the Walrein, meaning we shield once and then go for a full farm down. However, you can see it doesn't look quite like I will get the full farm down, so I swap out into my Zapdos. However, still in a great position as they come in with a Gastrodon. They tried to make a catch onto Furret, and that is fine with me. We farm up to back-to-back charge moves. Close combat, gets the one shot there. Probably could have just settled for a fly at this point, but we full send another close combat. And that's actually going to allow the opponent, well, I was going to say, it should allow the opponent to fully farm me down. However, I guess they are taking big damage from the counters, so they throw there, but they don't have another charge move already loaded, meaning Brave Bird gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle, we're going to see Empoleon in the lead. So once again, a bit awkward for me. I'm going to be safe swapping into Flamigo, and the opponent is going to stay in. And once again, they throw immediately, giving me a full double kick in for free. They fire off the Drill Peck, they then swap into Altaria this time around. So this time, I'm actually going to bait with an upper hand, as I do have an upper hand and a Brave Bird already loaded. We grab a shield, we don't drop their defense, which is unfortunate, because you can see Brave Bird does huge damage, and with a defense drop, maybe I could have got the KO there. However, they're actually able to fully Dragon Breath farm me down. So at this point, I'm going to fully sacrifice the Hawlucha, hoping that Zapdos does have play into their final Pokemon. Of course, we already know they've got Empoleon in the lead. If they've got a Mud Slapper, potentially we can still win this game here. So let's see. The opponent's going to come back in with Empoleon. That is fine with me. They overfarm a lot, but I don't think they're going to reach back-to-back moves. The opponent goes for Drill Peck, but they've actually got a Alolan Ninetales in the back. So at this point, I think my only win condition is if, for whatever reason, they no-shield the first charge move, but they shield up the close combat, meaning, of course, Weather Ball easily going to take me out here, and unfortunately, Weather Ball will be getting the KO, and so we lose that game. But GG's up on there, into the final battle of this video. Apologies, my commentary has been, well, even worse than usual. Sometimes I forget how to speak. This time around, I've barely remembered how to recover from not forgetting how to speak there. Either way, we're going to go for another Flying Press. We've seen this many times. Going to shield the first charge move here, as this is a non-shadow, so I won't be able to go for a full farm down if we come in with one of our other Pokemon. But we can go for a Flying Press. Flying Press probably KOs through the shield there because they're on 1 HP. They swap into Azumarill. Not really ideal for me. Here, I did have the opportunity to full send a Brave Bird before they threw, but actually because they overfarm, I assumed it would be a play rough. So now I'm going to go for Brave Bird. Brave Bird is going to connect. It does huge damage, and now I can throw an upper hand on the CMP tie. Upper hand is going to drop their defense there, and the opponent does throw straight away. So Ice Beam going to get the KO. Their final Pokemon is a Shiftry, which should be a great matchup. However, they've now got the energy for a Hurricane, which gets the one shot, but Hawlucha is still going to be able to fast farm down the Azumarill, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.